The Great Christmas Light Fight is on!
Hola! Happy belated Cinco de Mayo, everybody. I'm still indulging. Well, not quite yet. You can see it's not open, but hey, maybe later, or you never know what could be in the cup. It's just water. Hey, everybody, welcome to a special Wednesday night edition of your favorite show and my favorite show, The Librarian. And yeah, I'm all decked out in my Cinco de Mayo hat. And, you know, I would not be a statistician or a librarian if I didn't have facts and in my red book. But not only was it Cinco de Mayo yesterday, it was also Taco Tuesday. Now that is a twofer for sure. Whoop, I did three. Twofer. Well, it could be three because there was a lot of celebrating this week, right? Monday was May the 4th. So May the 4th be with you. Watch The Librarian. I'm using my powers. Anyway, enough of all that stuff here. How do you like that? I got a his and hers for Mrs. Librarian. Folks, I'm following up from my last episode where we talked about, is the Great Christmas Light Fight canceled? And it was a pretty popular episode. And I had a lot of questions from a lot of people asking or stating, I think it was because of viewership. And I don't exactly know the reason. We'll kind of cover some of that today, but I'm specifically covering historical viewership because I do believe that is not the reason, in my opinion. So we'll talk about that. Thanks for joining. And as you know, we got to make it official and check the librarian in, just like you check a library book back in after you took it out. And we'll put that up there. And hey, welcome to the library, everybody. Having a good day. Traveled a little bit this morning for work. Glad to be back home this evening, spending it with you, and later spending it with Mrs. Librarian. Love for you to get your comments in. Love for you to tell me what's going on in your life. What did you do on Cinco de Mayo? And let me know what you've heard since the news broke about the shelving of the Great Christmas Light Fight for season 14 in 2026. I've got a few updates, some official, some unofficial. And again, we're going to mainly cover, is it related to low viewership? Is low viewership behind the shelving of the Great Christmas Light Fight? What do you think? Get your comments in and we'll try to address them. And I think we're ready to kind of kick it off. So I got a couple topics today. Why don't we start? I don't usually do this, but let's go through maybe what I'm going to cover. So the first thing I want to cover is I am in no way an expert on Nielsen ratings and share and statistics. However, I am smart enough as a librarian to do a little bit of research. And there is a lot of public research out there and knowledge and statistics. So I've compiled a bunch of it and I'm going to give you my take on it. There's probably plus and minuses either way on some of the data I'll present, but in general, I think it paints a really clear picture of what really happened if you want to blame viewership as the reason for the shelving of the Great Christmas Light Fight. I'm going to talk about a potential new show that's coming out. Some of you might have saw that. I'm getting the background on that, and I may be interviewing the casting team for that. Stay tuned. I'm going to talk about upcoming minis because there is one this weekend on Mother's Day weekend. And, you know, we'll probably say a nice thank you and happy Mother's Day to everybody when we end the show. I'll probably play some videos in between too, just to get everybody in the spirit, the Christmas spirit, the light fight spirit. So starting to see the comments coming in. I'm seeing viewers coming in. Let's see who's joining us in the library. Maybe you have a cerveza that you want to share with me. All right. I do have a case of it if anybody wants to come over. All right, let's see who's joining us and where they're coming from and what they got to say for tonight's episode. Because it's going to be a fun episode. It's going to have a lot of information that, yeah, maybe you'll find it interesting. Maybe you won't. But I'm doing it anyway. So who do we got joining us? Somebody who thinks they're interesting. Jordan Maywald. What's up? High five. I find you interesting, buddy. Thanks for joining in. And I'm going to check in later, Jordan, because I think you're one of those guys that check in early, but then check out early too. So we're gonna make sure you're still in here. Hey, we got Aaron Grimes joining us from Lights on Trotters. Hello, and I know you're probably interested in this data because you were on a path for light fight. So let's see what I got to say a little later. Hey, we got Monty Small joining us. Great to see you in here again, Monte. And hope you're having a good evening. Hope you had a good Cinco de Mayo. I really didn't celebrate it. I was on a business trip for work this weekend. We went out to dinner and I actually didn't have any beers or margaritas or anything. But I did have tacos yesterday for Taco Tuesday. All right, who else do we got joining here? We got Henry Swenson joining. Thanks for doing it. Appreciate it. Hey, Henry, since you're the man of the big pumpkin, it's also in the past week, another thing we're celebrating. I heard it's halfway to Halloween. So we're almost halfway to Christmas. Home Depot, Lowe's all started dropping some of their Halloween stuff, Party City. So we're probably going to see Christmas stuff soon. We got Utah in the house. Ryan, thanks for joining us, buddy. Glad to have you here. And want to hear what you have to think after you see some of the information I'm going to present. Which, by the way, not really a first. I kind of do this when I do my librarian classes at a mini or an event. I'm going to use some PowerPoint today because some of the stuff I need to present just looks better if I give you some visuals for you to refer back to or see where I'm coming from. Who else we got joining here? Oh, another light fight champion from what could have been maybe the last season of the light fight, season 13. Don't know yet, but greetings from Phoenix, Arizona. Saw a picture of you, Carl, at the Southwest Lighting Enthusiast Conference. And I think Bill Riera was in that picture too. Wish I could have made that one, but awesome that you're getting out to minis. I hope you had a good time. That one's on my list to get to. I know it's growing. All right. Who else we got? I just saw somebody. Oh, got the Slankard celebrating Cinco de Mayo a little late at El Chico's. You'll watch later? No, come on. Watch while you're waiting for your food to get served. Why not? Why not? I watched some of the Thunder yesterday. Way to go. My Sixers are playing right now as I'm doing this, but Joel Embiid is out again. We're lucky if he plays 20% of the games a year. And we had a tough loss for the Flyers in game 2 against Carolina. They were up 2-0, then 2-1, then tied 2-2, and then went into overtime and lost. Oh, well, there's still another game. Hey, got another friend from Utah joining. Sonia Larson joining. Thank you for joining, Sonia. And when I speak of future events, minis, trade shows, some just happened, some are coming up. The mini at sea, we'll mention that too and give an update what I know about that. Hey, I got somebody from Kansas joining. Joseph Gonzalez joining us. And Joseph, congratulations on all these new David Hamburger animatronic pieces you got. I'm jealous of those Keebler Elves. I have not been able to get any or been willing to spend the money on any. So 50 degrees there, it's raining here, and it has not been a good May. We have a swimming pool. It's covered up. You have to do that here in the Northeast because you get leaves and all that other good stuff in it. And I don't know if it'd be open for Memorial Day. So, hey, speaking of Memorial Day, I thought I wasn't going to really buy any of these but I did, with it being the 250th anniversary coming up of our wonderful country, the United States of America. And I'm not going to get them all, but I did get a new blow mold. And this is one I would recommend. You know, I'd recommend all of them, but if you're trying to just be selective, the reason I picked this one, this is from Walmart. This is a tabletop, Uncle Sam. It has a great design, but the reason I picked this one is because it's corded. They had a Mickey and Minnie Mouse, battery operated. They had a giant Uncle Sam head, battery operated. So this one I thought was cool, and might get another one so I could put them in the window just like you put your Christmas candles. Go to Walmart, get this one. It's an awesome design, and it's now the question is, how's the paint? It looks good. This one won't go outside, so it should last. All right, let's see who's checking in again. Hey, we got the Griswold of them all, Griswold D. Richburg joining us. Thank you, Stephen, for joining in again, and again for sharing the links out there for Christmas yard decorations. Again, join that group if you're not in it. Stephen has a lot of good stuff in there. And Sonia does say she hopes to see us at the Utah Rocky Mini in Salt Lake. Jordan Nash, if you know Jordan Nash in the lighting industry and a lot of the minis, he was just here at East Coast, and he was twisting my arm. I got to get out there, and I really want to. I'm going to try. Hey, Charlie's buddy Giatano joining. Thank you for coming in tonight to learn about Light Fight. We're going to get to the statistics here in a minute after we do some more greetings. But hey, Giatano, you're not the only one joining from Christmas on Crestline. How about this? Charlie Byers is here again. It's nice to see crossover of the viewers supporting the channels, and we really appreciate that. It was really fun having Charlie right here next to me. See, Charlie, we did that bourbon taste, and we could have shared a Corona together, but you don't drink beer. Didn't know if anybody else knew that. Charlie shared that with me. He's not a beer drinker. I'm not really a beer drinker either. I can drink one or two, but hey, we got Brandon Reaver joining from Ohio tonight. Got your text, Brandon. I texted you back, and we're going to talk about that new Christmas show a little bit at the end. We'll do that at the end. And we'll fill you in what I know about it. All right. Don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, share the video. I'd love to get some more viewership on here. I'm not a monetized channel. Again, I just do this all for fun, and I do it unscripted. So with that being said, remember to continue to get the comments in as you look at the data. And I think I want to get into the bulk of what I wanted to talk about today. And that is the Great Christmas Light Fight canceled? And is it a result specifically of low viewership or ratings? And I found it interesting. You know, a while back when I started doing librarian presentations at minis and so forth, that was one of the things people asked, and I never researched, hey, what's the ratings? Where does this thing stand? Then I went out there, and it's published in a lot of different places, and the numbers are close, depends what source you go to. So I'm going to caveat it again. I said it in the beginning. I'm not an expert in ratings. I took data that I found out there on the internet, because everything's true on the internet, but it's gotten pretty accurate, and compared it. And also compared it to my database I maintain. And I think you'll find what I'm going to present interesting. So let me pop up. Again, I'm going to use a PowerPoint to guide me and some visuals, but the Great Christmas Light Fight. Viewership breakdown. Is the show fading, or is it still bright? A data analysis by me, the librarian. And I'm analyzing 12 years of the show, the whole history of the show from 2013 through 2015 with the information I could find. So many of you know and joined in about 2 weeks ago when TMZ broke along the same time as the librarian, and many of you that were applying for season 14 got notice as well, that Light Fight is shelved. And there's been some rumors around that, like what does shelved actually means. And in the article for TMZ, and I found some other articles with some other news outlets after this leaked out, it's consistent that it says the show is not canceled. So we'll talk about that a little bit as we go. Give me your opinion on it. The only thing I'll say about it right now is as you know, when they postponed season 14 filming last year, and it was supposed to happen this spring, it was wasn't guaranteed, but it was affirmed, yeah, it's going to happen. And then it didn't. So you know how things go. You cry wolf too many times. Do you listen? So I'm hoping it's not a cry for wolf, and that we're going to find out what's going on. So on the left was the TMZ article. On the right was a message that came out from Kristen Moss, the director of casting. And I actually talked to Kristen about the show. And obviously, they can only share certain things, and they don't know everything. They're the casting team; they're not the production team. But her message was pretty consistent. It was one: keep hope. It's likely gonna come back. She didn't know if it's coming back on ABC, streaming, some other channel, but it's likely going to come back. We'll wait to see. And for what it's worth, before I get into the data, I mean, I don't know how many of you people are, but I actually am. If you've ever watched The Jersey Shore, they're moving off of MTV and they don't have a home yet. They're thinking of going to streaming. Who knows? The Bachelorette got canceled, a huge show. Now, that one was obviously, if you followed the news, was because of some shenanigans by the new Bachelorette. But hey, big shows get canceled too, or delayed, or shelved. So there's many other reality shows. And, you know, I've talked to AJ Rochester as well, not specifically about the shelving this year, although I got some commentary from her. She said Hollywood's changing and reality TV's changing. A lot of people have moved out. And they're restructuring, and it's frankly because of what you're going to see in the data here. And that's, you know, I'm going to hold for when we get to the next slide. So as many of you know, I had to break it and at least get the community together, even though many people kind of found out at the same time. But appreciate your support coming on the show. That episode's still out there if you want to go back and watch what was said and who joined. And a lot of light fighters joined, and light fight hopefuls joined. So check it out again on the YouTube channel. Make sure you hit subscribe. But what I wanted to specifically know was it because of decreased viewership, or also known as ratings? And I'm going to kick it off here, and this is where I'm going to go. So I've shared the slide. I created this slide in one of my classes I've done. By the way, I'm not going to PowerPoint you to death. I'm going to jump in and out of things. But if you've never seen this slide in my class, this is from 2013 on the far left to the far right is 2025, all 13 seasons of Light Fight. This is going to cover, this is what the average viewership was. So what does that mean? So if you look at the very first premiere of Light Fight, 2013, you see 4.7 on the screen. That's millions. That is an average of, I believe there were 6 episodes total. I can't remember offhand. Combine them all, do your math, and that's the average. The actual premiere was much higher. It was over 5 million, close to 6 million. So I took the averages, and what you see here is your downward curve that you would typically see in any kind of business presentation. And the good news is you did get a low, and then it started to peak up, and then it leveled off again. But you can see roughly the show went from season 1 averaging 4.7 million people. Then people got hooked on it, and season 2 averaged even higher, 6 million. And then by the time you get to season 13, it's down to 1.86 million. That sounds like a huge cut, you know, basically 25% roughly of what used to watch it, 30%, whatever. And it might sound dramatic, but wait till I show you some of this information. I think you'll find it interesting. It's still a real solid show, if this is one of the reasons that they're using for shelving it. So we'll talk about some conspiracy theories I've heard too, of maybe why it's being temporarily shelved. Maybe you've heard some. Share them here, and we'll check them in the comments. But, you know, this is my insight. You know, the fragmentation of the audience over the last 12 years, 13 years, has made the numbers you saw in 2013 through 2015, all those 4, 6, 5 numbers, appear mythical in the context of today's modern linear TV. Said by yourself here, the librarian, Brian Michael. And you might not understand what I'm saying there, but you'll know in a few minutes what I mean by modern linear TV. And it's really important to explain what's happened to the show. So hang in there. I'm going to keep this fun. It's not going to be like a business presentation. We're going to keep it fun. We're going to check in, play some videos, but here's what I mean. So if you go back to 2013, this was the TV market landscape. And on the left is what's called linear dominance. That's basically your broadcast TV, everything that people have been watching in their living rooms since the early 1950s and on, when TV came up. And in general, it reached by from the inception of TV up until 2013, broadcast networks reached a decade high share of 39% of viewership. The rest was in other types of media outlets that I'm not going to go into. But when you combine it with cable and broadcast TV, most people, 84% of the people out there, watch TV through cable or through broadcast TV. So the share of broadcast at 39.2%, if you brought that into today's content, that no longer exists because of the third category that we'll cover in a moment, streaming. And then many of you The DVR was really popular. Matter of fact, I probably consume media on my DVR just as much as I do on streaming. You know, Light Fight I recorded, I still have many seasons on my DVR. Matter of fact, I'm afraid to turn in my DVR because I might lose my episodes, especially the more current ones. So DVR, or time shifted viewing, as they call it. And if you don't know what I mean, that it's hey, I can't watch it right now when it comes on at 8 o'clock. I'll time shift it, record it, and I'll watch it tomorrow. I'll watch it tonight, whatever. And then finally, this is the most important takeaway: why there was, just say, 6 million viewers. Streaming just really started, folks. I mean, many of you remember Netflix or Redbox. You had to go get a disc mailed to you, a disc, or you had to go to the little box and enter the code and get your DVDs out or your Blu-rays. Streaming was just starting, and Netflix only had not even 5% of the share. And it wasn't then, and I don't know if any of you watch a series. It's a great series if you want to go back and watch it. Kids might not want to watch it because it's, you know, a little adult, but House of Cards is really what kicked off the popularity of streaming and through Netflix. So that's the first part of the story. Now here's the second part of the story. If you want to look at the top networks, ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, etc., in 2013, you can see my data is backed up by the top 3, or even top 4. The top 4 networks are all broadcast TV. CBS, average monthly, a little over 11 million viewers. So again, kind of like my data, you know, they might have had specific shows that got 20 and 30 million, mainly sports shows. We'll talk about that in a minute. But if you average everything out there, their average viewership was just a little over 11 million. NBC was at 9.2 million. And then ABC, where Light Fight has resided all of its life, was 7.4 million. So that's pretty far behind. You know, think about that. Your average viewership of Light Fight was 4.7 million. And other more popular shows, if you combine them together, ABC was third with 7.4 million. So, and then you start seeing the introduction of some of the cable channels on here, and you could see the shows that were driving them. And specifically for ABC, Modern Family was popular. And then the show The Rookie, if you ever saw that, was another one that drew in ratings. But you look at these shows that were pulling in most of the viewers, you can see where they're hard. But the data gets even more interesting once Light Fight kicks in. So as you know, 2013 is when Light Fight premiered on ABC. It evolved out of an ABC executive who saw the viral videos like the one with Carson Williams and Wizards of Winter, and then other big light displays on YouTube. Again, YouTube really wasn't big yet, but they saw the popularity. That's how the show came about. The show came out, used to be called Lights, Camera, Christmas. Fun fact, if you didn't know that, before it became the Great Christmas Light Fight. But again, premiered at 5.15 million. So it averaged 4.7. And I have a different chart later that'll show every episode, and we're not going to go through every one. And then it averaged 4.7 million. What it did is it created a position in the market that successfully identified a gap into non-scripted holiday events, so reality holiday events, kind of a little bit like TLC was doing with Invasion of the Christmas Lights and some of those others. Those were, yes, they filmed real people. They weren't competition, and they really weren't reality. They were more documentary type shows. So this was a kind of a first reality show for Christmas. And then in 2013, it had a 1.9 rating in an important demographic, 18 to 49-year-olds. That makes it a solid performer. Today, if that had this in 2025, if you had the same demographic, a 1.9 rating, it'd be the highest rated scripted program of the year. And if you don't understand what that means, essentially what 1.9 means, 1.9 million people between the ages of 18 to 49 tuned in to watch the show. And I get into it later. That's important because there are people that are spending money. They're buying Christmas decorations to decorate their home. They're getting into Christmas hobbies. And at the end of the day, they leverage the era's high broadcast share, aka broadcast TV, to deliver massive numbers for ABC. And that's why it kept getting renewed. That's why it kept getting renewed. So what are your thoughts on that so far? Let me know. But moving forward, and this might be a little eye chart. Maybe I'll actually zoom it in and take my wonderful face off the screen. But you then want to look at what were the top 40 TV shows in December of 2013. And remember that 11.2 million, or whatever the number was, for NBC being the top network, and ABC was at 7.4 million on average. Here's your top 40 shows. I pulled some of them out to fit them on the chart. But the interesting thing was, even at almost 6 million viewers, Great Christmas Light Fight at the time would have landed on 60th place for the month in December 2013. So you mean 5.6 million viewers and you only get 60th place? Interesting data. So start thinking about that as we move into the future years and where it covers. And look at some of those shows in there. The other big takeaway on here is one of the deaths of some of these smaller shows, or where networks actually got big numbers, is because of sports, specifically football, Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, post-show games. And then, of course, you had a lot of your The Voice and American Idol and stuff like that were coming out. And then you had a lot of your crime dramas. They're the ones that were drawing in the audience. So it's interesting data, don't you think? So before I go on, let's check some comments. Let's keep it fun. Man, I want to eat. This cold beer is getting warmer as it sits here. I'll settle for water. All right, let's check on some of the comments I got here, and then we'll get back to this data, see what we're thinking here. So this is where I wish I had glasses or a bigger screen. Hold on. Charlie's saying it's got to be the ratings, right? I don't know. What else do you think it could be? Just seeing some of the data you're getting so far. Wait till I get into the future here. Let's throw in one of the rumors I heard, and none of this is confirmed, whatever, but one of the conspiracy theories I heard is, and this might be true, I don't know why I didn't Google it, but one of the rumors I heard is that Disney is looking to sell ABC. Does anybody know if that's true? And maybe they're trimming some costs and streamlining some things to make that sale happen. That's one of the things I heard. We'll cover another one in a little bit here. What else do we got here? Hey, could be money. So one of the other rumors I heard. I'm going to cover that in a minute because the show is not overly expensive to produce compared to other shows, and that's been called out in a lot of interviews, and self-included. But I bring up money because I finally got to meet somebody who helps a lot of us spend money at Halloween and at Christmas and at 4th of July and at summer. If you don't know her, I want to welcome Jennifer Penelope Corcoran to the Librarian for the first night. She runs all the Facebook groups for Home Depot, Holloway, Hunters, all the JPC groups, the Nutcracker groups, the Lowe's group, you name the group, she's bringing it to you. She's the main creator, the brain behind it. And I'd love to get you on for an interview one day, Jennifer, to talk about all the viewers. I think you told me between all your different channels you have, not channels, but groups, there's over 4 million people. So that's a lot of people influencing each other to buy giant 12-foot skeletons and Santas. What else do we got here? Giatano saying, my guess, they wanted to give a 1-year filming. When they push comes to shove, they realized it was not doable that anymore. Yeah, that's possible. I mean, once they announced postponement to film in the summer, which they used to do for 5 seasons, by the way, I think it was a different time. I think maybe it's possible, and I don't know this, that it was harder to get people. That being said, I know for a fact, because I know 3 or 4 people who were basically notified that they're going to be on season 14. I think they already had the talent lined up and they were willing to film. So it's good to find out. Maybe we'll find out. Who else do we got going? What's Brandon saying? He's for a new show with Brian being the new judge. I mean, you're not the only one that's recommended that. I'm going to need a budget to do that. Wouldn't be as big as Light Fight, but hey, that could be fun. Kind of like the OK Texas Xmas. What a tongue twister. What's Charlie saying? Boom, math. Yes, I can do some math, Charlie. And then Jordan Maywald took me by heed to see if we were still checking in on him, that he was still here. Way too many streaming services market. And you know what, Jordan? You hit on exactly what I'm about to get into. And not only is there so many in the market now, it's just crazy how quickly they came up. So hang that thought for a minute. And then, hey, look at this. We got another light fighter joining us way down in Texas. Was actually on Jordan's episode, if you didn't know that. Ray Banda from Northopolis, West Laco. Also a nice children's book author. find out some of his books by looking them up on Facebook. Be sure to, they're great kids books. I don't own any because my kids are adults now, but I saw you won some awards recently, and there we go. Go fund me. Brandon, wait for the first dollar. All right. What else we got? Charlie, you got to go fill out graduation invites. Great job, Brian. Hey, thanks for joining, Charlie. A lot of us got graduations. My daughter graduates for a bachelor's degree in 1 more week. And I know Patrick Mock has a graduate coming, so a bunch of us do. All right, so let's get into data. I'll throw in some more stuff here later. We'll take a little video break just to get people in the spirit. But let's get back to the wonderful, wonderful world of PowerPoint, and let's go back here and move on. So we already talked about Lightfight launching in 2013. I kind of alluded to it. The golden era, or a level of stability for Lightfight, was basically from 2014 through 2018. And that's where they maintained, for the most part, that 4, 5, 6 million average viewership. Matter of fact, in season 2, like I mentioned previously, they averaged 6 million viewers, which was up from the premiere, which makes sense. People drank the Kool-Aid and they're in. And they sustained, another interesting fact, in 2014. Not only did they average 6 million, 3 episodes in a row had 5.5 million viewers. So that solidified a status to be an annual ABC staple, and really interesting data. Now, you got into season 4 and 5 a couple years later. Broadcast share is still 34%. Streaming still not there in 2016 to 17 as prevalent as it is now. But in 2016, they averaged 4.86. In 2017, they averaged 4.58. And they actually outperformed many rival network popular sitcoms during that time frame. So that's interesting. I'll talk about that in a little bit. And then go a couple years later. So they dropped after 2016, 2017, and then boom, COVID hit. And many people went back to watching TV. Yes, streaming, I'll get into that in a moment, is growing then. But in 2020, their viewership was solid, and then it tanked. And it was really the last time you would see an average of over 3 million viewers tuning in to any episode. But it did premiere in 2020 with 4.45 million viewers. So that's season 8, right? Season 8. And it was solid. So people went back to linear, watching stuff on TV linearly instead of streaming as much. Now, you go to now jump to 2025, and the last airing, I'm not calling it the last episode or the final episode, but the last airing of Lightfight was season 13. And right there, you can see each episode. I don't know if you can see each, but episode 1 was about 2.3 million people. Again, well below that last time they saw 3 million. Episode 2 was 1.9. Then you went back up to a little over 2 for episode 3, and then it dipped back down to 1.8, and then it went back up to 1.84, and then again 1.8. So they averaged that 1.8 number. And if you recall, I don't know if many of you remember this, I interviewed Felicia Aaron White, the executive producer, last, I guess it was fall, and she had said, remember, she was really pushing for watch, share, like, watch it on Hulu, watch it on all these other outlets to go. So was it viewership? I don't know. Maybe on those comments, maybe not, but maybe it was just she's trying to get ABC. Maybe she knew, again, they won't share everything exactly why it was delayed, now why it shelved, but maybe it was viewership. I don't know. I'm trying to present a case that it wasn't. But remember, when you look back at these ratings, this is when Felicia was really talking on the show about, hey, watch it and make sure you brought up. And I did a report out on it after season 13 aired, and I hated to deliver the news, but we didn't deliver. It was basically the same as it's been the last couple of years. It really didn't go up. All right. Now, let's bring it all together. All right. 2013 versus 2025. So then season 1 premiere, 6.15 million viewers. Now, premiere of season 13, you had 2.3 million viewers. Here's the takeaway. So on the left, 2013, highest rated episode in the series history. It captured 39.2% of the broadcast market. So almost 50%. I mean, getting close there. Whereas season 13, even though it was at 2.3 million, while numerically lower, it represents a strong lead over 2025 scripted fall series, but it is definitely far off the 2013 numbers. And that's going to make sense in a moment when I share 2025 data and really illustrate that 2.3 million viewers is still a lot. 1.6 is still a lot. And let's go into why that is. What changed? What went from that big TV to that little TV? By the way, did any of you have a TV like that? I don't know about you. So we always had, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s and the 70s, of course. But we always had the big giant brown wood console. TV was furniture, along with the stereo over there where you would flip it up and you had your records. We had that. Used to listen to all my records. It's also when Nintendo came out. My generation was the one that beat the bosses on the original Nintendo. Anyway, had Atari, had Odyssey, had ColecoVision, had Atom, the computer, had all these things. I digress. But I also had in my bedroom a little orange 13-inch black and white TV. I used to watch a lot of PBS shows. And Ultraman. Anybody know Ultraman, a Japanese cartoon? If you're in the Comic-Con stuff, you might know. That was a cool show. All right, let's get back to the presentation. So what did change? Well, let's go back to my chart on the left, and I've added some commentary on the right. So here were the challenges in a more modern era where streaming comes in. I'm going to show you how streaming comes in. But the challenges are how we watch TV has definitely changed. Streaming, on demand, mobile, our phones, film horizontal. More people, I think, watch stuff on their phones, especially with YouTube and stuff and TikTok, than they do even TV or streaming. And then here's the other big thing I frankly think started hurting at some of the viewership besides streaming is the inconsistent airing. It used to always be on I think a Monday night or a Thursday night, a set time, I think 8 o'clock. And then it went to the days changed for different reasons, because of they're fitting it in with other things. But the days changed, the time slot changed. I mean, sometimes it wasn't airing until 9 o'clock at night, and then they were doing double stacking the frequency. So instead of one episode a week and carrying out for 5-6 weeks, they fit it in. I think the shortest was one of the COVID seasons. They fit it in, was it 2 weeks? Worst case, 3. And I don't know about you, if you have kids and it's a family show, 10 o'clock is probably stretching it. So maybe that first episode got somebody, but 11 o'clock, the kids are in bed. A lot of people work even, not until the last few years when my kids got older, we were in bed by 10, 11 o'clock at night. Party poopers. But now there's also more variety. Many people listen to podcasts. There's different genres out there besides holiday reality TV, so forth. And then let's face it, because of some of those reasons and other reasons, I'll call it the light show community. And it's not true of everybody. I'm not making any opinions, but many people became disenfranchised with Light Fight. Some might be because they didn't get on, some because they don't like who they picked, or they didn't feel they favored light shows and so forth. And I have a whole nother presentation that disproves all that as well. Matter of fact, light shows have won more than anybody in the last 2 seasons. But hey, that happened. Some people just said, you know what, I liked it, I'm done with it, including, this is what shocks me, including past light fighters. Some light fighters, just even winners, don't watch it anymore, which, hey, come on guys, support the show. At least there's really not many shows that feature what we do for a shared hobby. Let's support it, even if it's not our thing. So what do you think about that? Hit like, hit subscribe, share, and let's get back to the data here. Gonna need a drink in a moment. All right, so that makes sense. But here's where it gets into the digital expansion, and Jordan Maywald alluded to this, and I'm sure many of you know this, but I mentioned it. Netflix really was just taking off in 2013. Think about that. That's only what, 13 years ago, and how much it is now. Again, House of Cards, they had strong share if you think about it. They were kind of like the only deal in town, I guess. 5% of share with they had more shows, but one show driving it. Then it wasn't until 2019 when Disney Plus and Apple TV launched. Believe it or not, Disney Plus and Apple TV have only been around since 2019. And by then, because they hit, streaming moves up from 5% to almost 20% of how people consume television. And then just 3 years later, streaming share overtakes broadcast share at 38% versus 24% for the first time ever. And then it basically becomes history from there. By the time you hit 2025, when the last season of of and last episodes of Light Fight aired. 47.5% of viewers consumed by streaming. And then Christmas Day last year was the most ever streamed time frame since streaming incepted, and it was 50% of the share, and I believe it was for a football game. So that's interesting data. It's telltaling, but I want to tie it back because you're like, that's great and all, but what about the numbers? So we're going to show you that. But the next phenomena was this chords. They call it stacking or cord stacking. Not only did people stop watching broadcast TV and then move to streaming, well, like many of you, oh, wow, that plan's only $3.99 a month. And then Disney Plus is only $2.99. Oh, that's another $10. I'm going to cancel some of my cable and I'm going to stack all these streaming services up, these digital services, and bundle. So by 2016, broadcast share dips to 36%. 2018, streaming share hits 14, led by Netflix. And then appointment viewing TV. In other words, it comes on at 8. I got to sit there and watch it at 8 or I'm going to miss it. The shift towards DVR and then time shifting influence. So you got everything happening like I showed you kind of on that last slide or slides 2. And then this is where it comes in. This really hits home. If many of you aren't in the business world and aren't used to reading graphs, the red line is broadcast share. The blue line is streaming. And you can see they actually inverse, and by 2021, they cross. And broadcast share is really down where when Netflix started compared to streaming share. So streaming's grown by 900%, while broadcast is reduced by 45. So yeah, people are consuming different and watching differently. I know we do, but we do still watch the regular networks. We do still watch things at certain times, but again, DVR and streaming is our two media consumptions. What are yours? What do you watch? Did you watch season 13 of the Light Fight? Since I said a lot of Light Fighters did not. Tell me. Let's check in on some people. I see some new people joining in, and let's see what we got going. Hey, we got Devin joining us. I think he's on a cross-country trip, like to Arizona or something. That's far from the Northwest. Too bad you couldn't have gone a couple weeks ago. You could have went to the Southwest Mini and met Carl Jimenez, who is chiming in here saying, weren't there some big sports conflicts during the past December? Yes, there was. There was. That's what I was just talking about. There was football games and playoffs and different things. And to your point, was it the episode of the Loaders that didn't air in their own market? Yes, it was. So the Loader family from season 13, who had the Elf Town, the very last episode, had Tanya as a judge. One, they could not watch their episode because they were in Texas. And I think it's like season 12, Patrick Mock is in the same boat, had his watch party all set up, people over ready to watch. And the Dallas Mavericks were in the playoffs, and the local network blacked out Light Fight. And he didn't even get to watch his own premiere. And same thing happened to the Loader. So good point, Carl. Thank you for pointing that out. Hey, we got another Light Fighter from season 13, Bill Riera, joining us. Says it was on Disney next day. Wonder if there's a way to see how many streams they received. I did have, so to your point, that maybe could be a future episode. I am sure streaming data is out there for the different TV shows and the different streaming channels. I'm sure somebody's done it. I didn't really interpolate that into this data. But yeah. What else do we got here? We got Robert's listening. He must have been finished. He must be waiting for a new bowl of tortilla chips at El Chico's. So he checked in. 13 years is an amazing run. Yes, and like I talked about, some people did move on, but you're going to see the numbers are still solid, Robert. And we want it back. We want it back. By the way, if you do want it back, I'm going to talk about this at the end, but don't forget, I am nowhere near the numbers I thought I would get, especially at their viewership. Go sign the petition. Now, is it going to make a difference? I'm realistic. Probably not, but what it's doing is, as somebody else signs it, we get the numbers. You see posts saying, hey, go sign the petition. And it's creating more, when somebody searches Light Fight, it's going to come up. So if ABC executives are searching Light Fight, or a streaming network searching Light Fight, like, should we buy this show? Come on, do it. Support the show. Go to change.org. Save the Great Christmas Light Fight. And the way that came about, by the way, folks, if you don't remember when we broke the news about Light Fight being shelved, somebody said, can't we start a petition? And I thought somebody's gonna do it. A couple people reached out and say, hey, do you want to do this? And then I heard of change.org and it was free. And you can also, it's free, and some people did this, and thank you, by the way. You can donate a couple dollars and they put your posts in other places or they promote it more. So um, I'm not suggesting do that, but thank you to those that did do that. But it takes you like 2 minutes to go here and just come on, support the petition. I wish I was a clickable link. It's not. All right, go back to these comments here. I'm not sure who this is. Vivid Light Productions. Hello, Michael. By the way, I'm used to being called Michael. It's Brian. My doctor calls me Mike all the time. I'm like, yes, doctor. Thank you for joining. Let us know where you are. Are you a light show, or are you a vendor, or are you stage lighting, or do you produce Christmas light shows for TV? Let us know. What do we got Steven saying? I think it's really the time slot, too late for families. I totally agree. That's one of the drivers, I think. The good thing is, too, and this is where the question about what about going to see what the streaming number was, and I think I have that covered, by the way, at the end. I can't remember. Many people did go back and watch it on Disney Plus or Hulu the next day. So this does not include those ratings. So I actually believe I have it at the end. I can't remember my own PowerPoint. I think it does refer to that, Stephen, that even though it wasn't watched linearly, broadcast, the numbers were solid on the streaming the next day or a couple days later. Hey, Devin wants to know, and this is a good question to put in the chat in the comments. What's your favorite season or episode? And like you said, season 11, episode 6, Disney Plus. You get to see yours truly and my family. That's my favorites, but I have a lot. That's a tough question. I know the producers get asked, and it's always, well, they're all my babies. They're all great. Henry wants it back. He signed the petition. You should sign the petition. And Henry, if you feel like really good about it, share it on your weather channel and all your people that used to visit you when you did your display. That's getting the word out. I did the same thing. Post if you have a Facebook or website for your light show and you need just a post to make because we're not in season, but you want to engage your audience, maybe post that. You'll get some people to go sign the petition. Of course, Bill's favorite episode is season 13, episode 3, his own. Don't blame you there, Bill. All right, let's get back to the PowerPoint. And I'll take a break and play just a little video. I've played them before, but I wanted to get some more content in there. But let's go back to the presentation. And let's move on, because we're almost at the end of the presentation. All right, so in 2025, here's your thing about the streaming supermajority. So streaming had almost 50% of share. They had 47.5. But then you also saw another interesting concept come up. So originally when streaming came out, many of you know this, it was basically free. There were no ads. And then all of a sudden now you're paying a subscription. Then Amazon and some of the other plans said, well, we'll give you a cheaper plan, because the plans keep going up and it's almost costing, or is costing, as much as your cable bill. And but you're going to get ads. So that was another big phenomena that took off by 2025. It was called ad-supported rise. So 64% of some users now prefer ad-supported, or AVOD, they call it, tiers, merging the economics of linear TV. So the reason linear TV was instrumental, especially for a network deciding should we put it on, is, let's face it, you see in advertisements to buy stuff, and that's what supports the channel, 500,000 for this ad, whatever. Now that streaming took that away, but now they were bringing it back. And as you know, you got linear TV dynamics with commercials merged with streaming, and people are okay with that because it fits their budget better. And then finally, smart ecosystem. So many of you have a Roku stick or a Roku TV or an Apple TV device. That represents over 21% of total TV viewing in 2025, acting as a new gatekeeper of media. So there's different ways people have started streaming even. So I think you're going to continue to see streaming evolve even further. Something new is going to come out. I mean, we haven't cut the cord. That was what Sling cut the cord. Some people tried it. They didn't like it. I just renegotiated. We use Verizon where I'm here. There's Comcast, which is your cable service. and I go through Verizon with Fios, and I just upgraded to a 1 gig service. My kids are mad at me. They moved out, and we had 100 megabyte service, and now I got 1 gig service. And I got more channels too. And I got my price cut literally in half because I think they were threatened I was going to leave. So don't be afraid to call your providers to get better plans. All right, let's get back and get the presentation over so we can have some more fun. So that dynamic's tying in. And then here's a nice chart that shows, thinking back to earlier what I showed in a summary for the top 3, 6, and 10 ABC, the main networks. I know many people say, what about Fox? And I'm talking the big 3, CBS, NBC, ABC. So there's, I talked about in 2013, 11.5, 9.2, and 7.4. But in 2025, look at the degradation between those networks. ABC was 3rd. They moved up to 2nd, but they only have an average of 2.83 million viewers instead of 7.42. And CBS only has 8.4. They're still solid. CBS, I mean, they had 11.1. Now they're down to 8. But look at NBC. NBC's dropped to 1.75 million. That's lower than the average viewership of a Light Fight episode. So you got a 63% drop in average monthly viewership across the top broadcast networks in a 12-year period. And why is that important? Well, I'm going to enlarge this, hide my ugly mug. If I go back, I showed you the top 40 TV shows in December of 2013. Here's your top 40 TV shows in December of 2025. And again, no surprise. Look at the top 6. They're all football. And what's interesting, it's a combination of the network. They're through your linear media like Fox and CBS, but they're also on streaming now. And look at the numbers. Just say 15 to 28 million. If you go back to 2013 with linear TV and regular TV, it's about the same millions of viewers viewing. And then check out some of the other shows. There's a lot of sports in there. Sports is really, people are consuming sports. But where did Light Fight fall? Well, if you wanted to look at it, and this looks scary, but hear me out. I had to go to the top 200 to see where Light Fight would have fell. It would have ranked 130th on ABC at 1.8 million viewers. Now, the interesting thing is further research found that in today's era of standard linear TV, ranking in between 1 and 200 is super solid. It's not a negative thing because of where the share is on that. And Light Fight fell on the lower spectrum of that 100 to 200 range. And if you look at there, and I know my little Light Fight logo is blocking it, but successful network dramas and hits and mid-tier sports broadcasts reside in that range. So it's solid. It's solid. And then within the top 200, Light Fight is often one of the highest rated shows for co-viewing, AKA meaning families watch it together, which is the other key metric that advertisers value, especially during the holidays when you're buying your kids what? What are you buying your kids? You're buying them toys. You're buying them video games. You're buying them electronics, bikes. So it's solid. ABC really should, and they probably have. They got people smarter than me doing this. They should be considering this. So let's go back and let's finish out the PowerPoint, and we'll check in on comments again. But if you go back and look at the data again, it's still solid. 3.1 million, by the way, is usually in a current modern linear TV, 3.1 million viewers for any episode or any series or drama or comedy. That's usually what it takes to get into the top 40, roughly, is what I've learned. All right. So what's the future of Light Fight? That's what everybody wants to know. What have you heard? I shared some of the conspiracy theories I heard. No legs on them that I know of, but what's the future? Well, is there going to be a season 14? And this is probably an eye chart. I can't really zoom in or scroll on it, but I do have the data by episode, by season. And, the takeaway here is just looking at it visually. If you go to any of the squares, that's a season. And you can tell by looking, the taller the bar, the more people watch it. There are numbers in there. You probably can't see them on the screen, but is there enough viewership to justify a season 14? Does linear TV still work if they stay on linear TV? How will it perform on streaming? I already shared with you shows like the Jersey Shore are moving to streaming likely? I think it does, and here's why. So let me talk about this a little bit. ABC programming as a strategy. And this is what they've done to maximize the light display, the light fight. So they've successfully utilized non-standard strategies to keep the lights on for over a decade. Like Meeple said, what show has ever gone a decade? There's not many, yet alone 12, 13 years. Well, here's how they did it. And you saw it in the data I shared. And this is why I feel good about the data and why I feel good that light fight is just on hiatus and we'll come back. Light fight was pretty good. And Carl, I think, alluded to it. Post NFL showcase. So sometimes some of the Sunday night or Monday night or even Thursday night football would end. And light fight did appear in some of those slots and was slotted around it to capture drifting audiences. So it could have even been up against it at some point. And some people are like, they're at a commercial. Let me go over to this channel and watch some light fight or just to do something different. The other thing that they did is their limited run event. So some people don't like that they double stack the episodes and do it in 3 weeks instead of 6. But really, there has been very much success in double stacking and causing what they call limited run events into 3-week bursts. It kind of creates urgency. Like if I don't have a DVR or I don't have a streaming service to rewatch it, I got to watch it back to back. So that's actually worked for them, whereas some of us don't like it because of other reasons. And then finally, it's great holiday filler. It's really produced at a low price point. I've heard this from some of the production people. I've heard this in interviews. I've seen it in publish. I don't know the actual number, but even if you throw in all the prize money, which is way lower than other reality game shows, which, by the way, I wish I made more money on the game show. The trophy was better. That's true. But the positive thing, and this, I think even Charlie talked about this on Christmas on Crestline. The one thing about 50K is it's enough to buy a car maybe, or pay off a bill, or pay for college for a year, whatever. But it's not enough to make people go spend $100,000 to win $1 million. So that kind of kept the level playing field. That's some of the ways that some people have looked at it. All right, and we're getting to probably, I think, the last slide before I just kind of wrap it up, and we'll talk to each other. But let me blow this up because I can't even see it here on the screen. But here's the strategic value for light fight after watching 2025 and reflecting back on previous years. So in 2025, even with those ratings I showed you, light fight outrated scripted services, including Grey's Anatomy. I watch Grey's Anatomy. We still watch Grey's Anatomy. Do you? I mean, that's a popular show. Has it jumped the shark in some cases? Maybe. Just like some people that are disenfranchised with light fight said it jumped the shark when it went to drones and it went to all this other stuff, that like, hey, the average people don't do that. It gets ratings. Well, anyway, I'm not here to debate that. That's a different episode that you might see some facts about on previous, but let's go back here. So it outperforms shows like that. But if you look at that top 200 I talked about, it sits comfortably alongside steady performers. So I don't know if you watch these. I've seen these shows, or I still watch these shows, but reality shows like Shark Tank and Hell's Kitchen, which are typically 1.7 to 2.1 million viewers. And Shark Tank just got renewed, to my knowledge. I don't know if that's on a different network now, and Hell's Kitchen. So Light Fight's pulling the same numbers as those two popular shows. By the way, if you didn't know this, for what it's worth, our producer, Maggie, I won't put her last name out in case she doesn't want it, Maggie, who produced my episode of Light Fight and some of yours maybe, she's a producer on Light Fight. On Shark Tank. She does the Shark Tank episode. So how cool is that? That's a fun fact. Let's go back here. And then if you think of game shows, syndication powerhouses like evening airings of Jeopardy or Wheel of Fortune in smaller markets, not in like big cities, but in smaller markets, people are tuning in and getting light fight numbers bigger than those two popular shows. And then if you like Hallmark Channel, some of their scripted series, light fight gets better ratings. And then if you're a Fox News person and know the Ingram Angle, which is a popular new political show, it gets ratings bigger than that in 2025. So I think that's some cool stuff that should justify the show. Now let's cover the other couple bullets, even though you might have read it ahead of me. Cost efficiency, described by industry analysts as solid holiday filler with extremely small production costs compared to scripted originals. So that's what the industry says as a whole about it. And then the other thing, it's original programming. ABC, think about Light Fight. It's original content to air during high repeat holiday weeks, December 1st to the 25th. So instead of watching reruns of stuff, that some reruns pull in good ratings, something original. We all want to see something original. Um, although I watch many episodes of Light Fight over and over. Hey, I'd be happy this year if they run some, and maybe they will. We don't know. We'll see in November when ABC publishes their holiday program. Maybe they'll air past episodes of Light Fight. I don't know. It'd be solid if they did. All right, and then the last thing I want to get into here is live. Oh, so this was the comment that I think Carl made, or Steven made, Griswold D. Richburg. Live plus same day strength. So despite streaming competition, it remains the #3 comedy competition format in linear streaming ratings for the 2025 holiday season. So on streaming, it does replay in the top 3 is what the data was showing that I found. So I find that interesting. And I think it's really relevant to bringing the show back. So I'm going to go on faith here, folks. And Felicia said this to me when I talked to her. Remember, she called me on the phone while we were doing the breaking news. And I did call her back later and she answered. And she shared some things with me, some things she couldn't share, but she did say she's very confident it's just shelved. She didn't go into whether it's going to be back on ABC or linear TV or streaming, but she's confident it's going to come back. I also talked to Kristen Moss. She said the same thing. Had some conversations with AJ, the casting team, and talked to some other folks, and they don't feel it's canceled. And the TMZ article even says it's not canceled. We just have to have faith. And again, I'll tie it back to what I started in the beginning. You know, I have faith as long as we don't keep getting the crying wolf mentality that I talked about, where you say it's going to come back and then 6 months later, well, maybe, and then let us know as soon as you know. All right. So what can you do? What's next? Again, I mentioned it. Go to change.org and support the petition if you haven't done it already. Share that with your friends. Again, will it make a difference? I don't know. Who knows? You probably need a couple 100,000 signatures to get something like that to make a difference. But you know, there's a chance that it could, and at least again, it brings it up on social streams that people are interested in the show, and you know, follow me to keep up to date. So if you learn something, share it with me so we can pass it on, and let's try to make sure it's not rumors. But there are room for us to talk about conspiracy theories and rumors. We'll do that. So let's check in on the comments and see what we got. So Aaron's sharing another big reason during the slope was people cutting the cable due to rising costs. Yes. So I mentioned that, Aaron, that self-included. People, I know Sling was the big advertiser trying to say, cut the cord. And that's what we talked about, cord stacking. People stacked up streaming. They started cutting the cord on regular cable. And now the reality is we all have all these because of the one show that's on that channel, on that streaming service. And now we're probably paying double what we used to pay, and we're okay. Maybe we're okay with it. I don't know. What do we got here? Brandon, cost. That's why I use an old antenna. You didn't get Wi-Fi until 2020. You might just be behind the slankards there, Mr. Reaver. Hey, Willie from KC's joining again. Christmas on Crestline. Hey, Charlie was on here earlier if you weren't. What's Giatana saying? Does ABC own the rights to Light Fight, or does Fremantle? I don't know that specifically. I asked Felicia that, or I think I asked Kristen that, and she didn't know. I believe ABC owns the actual rights. Fremantle is just a production company for it. Could be wrong on that. So that begs the question, do they have to, can they sell the name? Can they license the name, whether it's either one of them to streaming or another channel? I'll try to get that information. It's a good question. Brandon even talked to AJ because, again, he was a close, if not already accepted, to be on season 14. And she says, yes, the petition does work on TV shows in the past. I agree. I just don't know how much the numbers are, but at least it brings attention. So, hey, hit like, hit subscribe, get some comments and questions in. We're almost at the end of the show. Don't go anywhere yet. I need to take a quick break. And while I do, just hang in there and reflect and just this is a past video I played. Let's watch a quick video while I take a break, and then I'll check on the comments. Get your comments in now while you're listening or watching this light fight montage. Huh? If that doesn't deserve a celebration, like Cinco de Mayo, I don't know what else does. So, by the way, I'm going to put this pitch out there for past light fighters watching. I want to make a new montage as I do content up into, in through the summer and so forth. If you have video, Light Fight should have shared an MP4 with you or a wave. I forget what the format is of your actual segment or pieces of it. If you want to send me clips from that, so I have some clean content instead of screen grabbing it, and you got to be careful screen grabbing it because copyright. I'd love to include it in a new montage and include some of you new folks. So please do that. All right, get your comments in. The last two things we still got to check in on. The first one is if you didn't make my montage and you didn't make Light Fight, many of you probably saw this. There is some kind of new show coming out, and let me get it back up here. Here we go. They're now casting. This has gone public. I know it's in Christmas yard decorations. Steven shared it. Kristen Moss reached out to me asking if I would share this. I know Charlie Byers has shared it on Christmas on Crestline. And I'm now communicating with the two lead casting directors, trying to see if we can get them on the show. And what they did share with me is they can't share a lot of specific information right now if they do an interview, but they're interested in doing an interview and talking about, I guess, what the show is and what it can be. But if you didn't see this already, just a couple things to be aware of. First, it's kind of limited. So if you don't live in the Atlanta area, unless they're planning on expanding that, Atlanta, Georgia, it specifically says in here at crucialcasting.com/nowcasting. You can go there. There's an actual application just like Light Fight has. It says it's for Atlanta. And I know some people have reached out to them saying, hey, are you going to expand? Here's the good news. And again, it's just like Light Fight news. Who knows if it's going to happen? They said this is the initial show. And I guess depending on the success, they're going to expand out. Now, whether that's regional, national, I don't know. So, it's worth checking out the show, and I'll pitch it, even though this is a Light Fight episode. Again, I'm about Christmas shows. So maybe I won't like this show. Maybe you didn't like hoarding for the holidays. The takeaway is there's shows out there showing, decorating. Let's support them. Check this out if you didn't see it, or go look on some of the Facebook pages. The only other takeaway I got here, and I don't know if I'm misreading it, is it does sound like it says indoor decorating. I'm not sure about that. I'll try to get that clarified. I know some people have actually gotten messages already from this organization, this casting team, wanting them to apply. So let me know if you got that far along with them yet, and what they told you. So yeah, got an invite just in Atlanta. Exactly. Brandon Giotano just in Atlanta. I know that's a different one. Brandon Reaver shared with me that he was contacted. So I'm sure they're checking on people. Score check. I don't know what you're checking, but I know my Sixers are playing right now without Joel Embiid. Let me know. All right. So, hey, another chance for a show that you can get on. At least promote it. Let's help the show be successful, and then maybe it spans out into our markets, and we can get on it. So I'll share that now. If I do get an interview with them, I'm glad to do it and share it, and we can talk more, find out what they can share, because it doesn't say what network, who's the production company, what's the actual gist of the show. Kind of like holding for the holidays, a lot of people, including light fighters that were on it, um, I don't think they found out till later, hey, this is going to be more featuring of collecting and obsessively collecting. And they actually presented it pretty well. So, yeah. All right. The next topic, get your comments in. We're getting close to the end here. I'd be remiss not to promote what's coming up because, Charlie came out to the East Coast Christmas show and Halloween show. What was that, last week, the week before? This weekend, Mother's Day weekend. Hey, if anybody you want to get your spouses and mothers a gift, take them to the SoCal Mini. That's this weekend. I think registration closed, but that does happen this weekend. It's still on my list to get there one day. And then a couple weeks later is if anybody you do light shows, specifically pixel light shows, and you have Coro props, maybe you bought stuff from Boscoyo. They host an open house at their facility in Louisiana. It's somewhere outside. I think it's in the middle of Louisiana. I don't know the exact city. It's a crawfish boil. If you can make it there, go. There's no other vendors and all. It's kind of like just a party get together. Maybe they have specials. Then if you live in the Pacific Northwest, the clap's coming up. Christmas lighting, something, I forget what it stands for. It's a funny acronym. That's the end of May up in Washington. And then also the same weekend is the New York Christmas Mini, and I'm hoping to still get there if Bobby Galeese is watching. J.R. Matos helps support that show. I think he's supposed to be there from Matos Designs. I'll let you know. Hey, look, James O'Hensy's joining. Fellow past light fighter and the man hosting the crawfish boil. Man, I'd love to come to that, man. Oh, that's some good eating. Then I can bring my beer, although you'll probably have some beers there. Hey, James, thanks for listening. Hope you can go back and watch some of the ratings and share it. And I think it was your daughter's birthday yesterday or this week. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Monty saying, another great show, Brian. Thanks for that. We'll get back to more comments. Get your comments in. Let's get back to the calendar. Add it back to the stage. I'll expand it out. So, yeah, we got the Boscoyo open house. We got the 2 minis coming up. I might be it's a 5-hour drive for me to get to that New York Mini. I have a personal thing that's supposed to happen in May. I'm not going to go into it here, but some people know. And if it happens on time, I'm going to make it to the Mini and show up. And then there's the Frozen Mini in Wisconsin, where you can go see a drone show and you can camp out at a campground and talk about lights. Matter of fact, Kristen Moss went to that last year. By the way, it's worth noting. I'll bring it up now. Christmas Expo is not on this calendar. I only made this calendar up to June. I got to now make it from, I'll just say June to the rest of the year. But many of you are going to Christmas Expo. It is happening. Spoken to the staff, and it is happening. Stay tuned for that. But the reason I bring it up is there's going to be a light fight roundtable. That's still happening. With the light fight news, as you could imagine, there's no budget to send people anywhere now. So for somebody I talked to Felicia, Aaron White, and she says, certainly people can still go and be more than glad to support a Mini. However, unless there's some kind of exception that she can arrange, it's on their own dime. So I don't expect Kristen to probably come up to the Frozen Mini this year. She could make it to Christmas Expo, though, because if you don't know, she does live in Texas now. So I twisted her arm and I said, come on, you can make it up. So she's thinking about it. But a roundtable still will happen there. It might be hosted by me. I don't know. But make it. There's going to be a lot of people. I think it's going to be a much better event than it's been in the last couple of years. All right. And then we got the Indiana Mini. Larry Calvert goes to a lot of other minis to learn for his Mini. I'd love to get there. I don't know if I'm going to make that one. It's a little too close to some things. I am currently still planning on going to the Ohio Mini. And like I said, expos after that. Not on here is the North Texas lighting enthusiast. And like I said, I'll update this calendar and get it updated for the rest of the year. So I wanted to bring that up. All right, folks. We're going to get into the comments. hit like, hit subscribe, restream this later or forward it and share it. Again, don't forget to try to save the light fight. Go fill out the petition or share that link on your display's Facebook or social pages or website. Let's see if we got any final comments. James would love to see me there, and I would love to be there. I really would. We would be in Baton Rouge. That's where it is. What else we got here? Brandon did talk to Samantha from that soon to be named whatever Christmas show in Atlanta. What else do we got? Yeah, Kristen lives in the Dallas area now, Frisco, I believe. And yeah, folks, I hope you like the show. I hope you feel good about the data presented. I try not to create rumors or drama. I'm here to help the community. Again, I'm a traditionalist with my personal display. I do run Lightorama in part of my display when I have the full display up, but I like pixel shows. I like hybrid shows. I like Halloween. I like it all. Matter of fact, go back and watch my special I did on Fright Fight last Halloween, where I dress up in a lot of costumes, just like Charlie and I did. Remember we had Michael Byers here, and I guess I played Jason, who's really not part of but you know, we brought him in. We had a little fun with that, and you know, we got to do we had some fun, and that's what you can have at a mini, or you can have watching the show. So, hey, folks, I'm Brian Michael, and I'm not signing off yet because I want to get all these comments in. Monty hopes to make the Ohio Mini. Giatano, thanks for all the info. Thank you for watching. I think I'm going to do it now. I haven't had dinner yet, so Mrs. Librarian's waiting upstairs, and maybe I'll crack this open. It's not what's in here, I promise. Go watch some of my old videos. They're fun if you want to get in the spirit. Christmas in July will be kicking off. I'll plug Charlie Byers' Christmas on Crestline again. He's planning on doing, I think he said 50 videos in 30 days of different things and have different guests on, including some of you. I'll have some content in that month too, but I'm not doing that. I will just do some other updates and have some other fun stuff. Henry, thank you for joining. Make it super fun to tune in. Great info. Looking forward to the next show. Looking forward to your weather channel. Go watch Henry's weather channel. Even though it's not your area, just Henry got acknowledged, and he got to go see the Artemis that was in Louisiana. You got to go to the Artemis station, right? So shame it wasn't the same week. You could have went to James O'Hennessy's crawfish boil. All right, I'm really going to do it now, folks. I'm Brian Michael, the librarian, the Light Fight librarian, your resource for everything related to the great Christmas light fight. I'm confident it's going to come back. If it doesn't, maybe I got to change the name of my channel. I don't know. I'm hoping I don't. But as Mrs. Librarian says, the library, it's now closed. Have a good night.